It worked all regular season. There is no reason to change it now. Find a way to go 1-0. Your Locked On Browns playoff pregame show starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. A little nervous, ain't gonna lie. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. And I appreciate each and every one of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. And if you ain't part of the everyday crowd by now, we'll make a new plan. Stand and subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Old Grateful Dead lyric from back in the day. What a long, strange trip it's been. A lot of people weren't sure what to make of the Cleveland Browns going into 2023. Rightfully so. Deshaun Watson, a boatload of missed time, concluding his career in Houston. Didn't play a ton in 2022 for the Cleveland Browns. And the AFC North was stacked. Bengals, Ravens, Steelers, even the Browns. Everybody looked promising, but it was really hard to make of what this season was going to be. And you go into week one of the 2023 regular season, and the Cleveland Browns at home beat the Cincinnati Bengals 24-3. Hold the Bengals under 100 total yards. A little dinged up Joe Burrow. Yeah, we all remember. Deshaun Watson takes a hit late in the first half. All of a sudden turns it on. Browns win in a blowout. Close the game out with a Myles Garrett sack. Browns start the season 1-0. Of course, everybody then dialed up, which would have been week 2 in Pittsburgh. Monday Night Football. Game the Cleveland Browns should have easily won. He gave up 2 offensive touchdowns. Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt. You lose Nick Chubb. And all of a sudden, everyone starts to think, oh no, where is this team going to go? You come back week 3. Tennessee Titans, very similar to week 1 against Cincinnati Bengals. You absolutely just shut their offense down, stranglehold them, under 100 yards again. Browns win. Browns look good. Deshaun Watson looked good. Then all of a sudden, we find out during the week Deshaun Watson was injured in the Titan game. David Njoku, unfortunately, on Friday night before the game, gets into a serious accident at home. And you hope Deshaun Watson's going to play the following Sunday. David Njoku tries to gut his way through it. All of a sudden, next thing you know, we snap our fingers and rookie DTR starting in his first NFL game. Browns lose at home to the Baltimore Ravens 28-3. Now we go to week 5. Deshaun's still out. You don't want to start the rookie against the San Francisco 49ers. You start PJ Walker. I moved that day. I literally chose to move that day, figuring it would be the easiest day to do it, due to the fact that obviously it was going to be a tough game for the Browns. Browns come out, play hard, play tough, fight with the Niners before the game and let them know who they are. Cleveland Browns win that game. You go the following week, you get Deshaun Watson back halfway through the first quarter. He's not ready, takes a vicious hit. You go back to PJ Walker. You get some superlative defensive effort from Myles Garrett. You end up with PJ Walker having a humongous monster drive to close the game out. Kareem Hunt smashes it in. Cleveland Browns win. You go out to Seattle after that. And the PJ Walker magic is over. You get told by people within the organization telling me that as they were leaving Seattle, they knew there was no way they were letting PJ Walker play again. So You come home, you think it's going to be DTR against the Cardinals. Deshaun's back. Browns look good, 27-0. Again, a team under 100 total yards. Then you go down to Baltimore. Crazy, crazy game. Ravens get up big. Browns defense steps up in the second half. Deshaun Watson goes 14 for 14. Greg Newsome picks 6. All of a sudden, Browns are down 1 after a mixed extra point. Everybody walks out on the field, looks at the kicker and says, "We got you. You're getting another opportunity." Browns do just that. Tremendous run and catch by David Njoku. Jerome Ford with a run, and it seemed like the entire population of Cleveland, Ohio was pushing him forward. Get the first down. You set up the field goal. Nailed it. You win a big game in Baltimore. Wednesday, and I still thought she was hacked. You get a tweet. Just a quick one. Deshaun Watson is out for the season for Mary Kay Cabot. I thought she was hacked because Mary Kay Norman is going to be a little bit more elaborate, this, that, and the other thing. But obviously that was one of those ones just rushing to be out there as quick as possible with the information. What do you do now? You get the Steelers coming to town. You go back to Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Kid plays great, puts together a final drive. Browns beat the Steelers. Again, Dustin Hopkins 13-10. Then from there, you go out to Denver. I still think a game the Browns would have won if Dorian Thompson-Robinson finished that game. He doesn't. PJ Walker can't get it done. You're staying out west. At this point, you had brought in Joe Flacco just in case it was, worst case scenario. Joe Flacco starts against the Rams. First drive, moves the ball down the field, throws it all over the place. You end up losing that game. Then you get that 4-game stretch. Cleveland Browns sit at 7-5. You beat the Jacksonville Jaguars at home. Game that was close. Next week, Bears come in. The game I thought they were going to lose. All of a sudden, Joe Flacco goes butt wild in the second half. Amari Cooper comes out of nowhere and makes some ridiculously great plays. Next thing you know, Cleveland Browns beat him. You go down to Houston, Christmas Eve. Wasn't really much of a contest. Then 4 days after Christmas Eve, at home against the New York Jets, you beat them up. You win. And you get your AFC playoff ticket punched. You take it easy in week 18 and rest players, something that's absolutely just bananas to think if you're a Cleveland Browns fan, right, guys? And all of a sudden, tomorrow, some of your best players with 16 days rest. The 2023 playoffs begin, and the Cleveland Browns have as good a shot as anybody. Let's go. Find a way to go 1-0, and we got a lot more to break down here on your Locked On Browns pregame show. Appreciate everybody for all you've done this season. Stick around. Got a lot more to talk about. The Lloyds, we love our music. We've got a lot of outside venues here where we live. Plenty of great shows to see. The problem is we don't know when we have the time. So we're late-minute ticket purchasers. But you shouldn't have to worry about when you buy your tickets to your next big event if you use Gametime. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Don't be a rube. Don't buy the obstructed view seat. All-in prices show you total upfront, so you know you're getting a great deal before you check out. You can buy tickets in seconds with 2 taps. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event, and even an hour after it starts. So you want to sneak in late, you can do that. It's the place to find last-minute seats. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Jeff Lloyd, your pregame Locked On Browns playoff edition. Cleveland Browns, Houston Texans. We're about 22 hours away from kickoff now. And my nerves are there. And, it's not maybe butterflies, could be bats. But I'm confident in this team. I think this team is going to play really, really well tomorrow. I think it's the perfect mix of youth, talent, veterans. And I'm really, really thinking the rest that the Cleveland Browns have going into this game should make a tremendous difference for them. There's certainly going to be some key matchups, and I did a radio spot today, and they asked me about something I thought maybe that nobody would be expecting from the Browns tomorrow. I do think David Bell is going to have a role. I think David Bell coming into this game off the confidence of last week's 4 for 68 and 2 touchdowns. And look, it was a punted game for the Cleveland Browns. It was not a punted game for the Cincinnati Bengals. And David Bell did what he did against Cincinnati Bengal regulars. And we always talk about this, my everydayers know, right, guys? Once a young player finally gets that I belong in the NFL moment, and that is certainly what Sunday was for David Bell. The 41-yard touchdown against Jacksonville Jaguars was nice, but that was the I belong in this league and I can play in this league moment. But I think a guy you're really going to keep your eyes on here is going to be Elijah Moore in that Steven Nelson matchup between the two of them. I think the Texans obviously are going to have major concern for what Amari Cooper can do to them, and obviously the amount of time that Amari Cooper spent trashing their secondary on Christmas Eve. But a lot of what Amari Cooper did in that game and the routes he run and the routes he won and the routes he succeeded upon are routes that Elijah Moore can do. The Browns finally found a way to get him going. They found a way, obviously, with Joe Flacco coming here, and it was certainly beneficial to Elijah Moore, who had somebody in here who he had a little bit of a relationship with. And I've talked about this, and again, the everydayers know, as a wide receiver, you have no idea what it's like when you have to play with 5 quarterbacks in one season. And the Browns will go into this game tomorrow with their 4th quarterback of the season and their 5th quarterback of the season as the backup. It's a crazy thing to even fathom. But when Joe got here, and I would say after that first drive in Los Angeles, all of a sudden there was just this calming influence that, hey, yeah, we lost our top guy to the season. Rookie, it's got a lot of potential, but it was a really tough situation to put him into. PJ Walker's started in spots, and there's been a reason for that. He's never had a long-term gig. But Joe came in, and there was just this presence, and I feel like a 10-year-old kid here and out in L.A., and all the guys went out to eat. And Joe didn't let no kid pick up the bill. Guy been in town for a week, hot minute. I got it. I'll pay for the bill. I'm the veteran. I'm the quarterback, even though I'd only been the quarterback of the team for, 6 days. Goes in, picks up the tab, and I think everybody kind of knew, hey, we got a really fortunate break here. As unfortunate the break was losing Deshaun Watson, we got a really fortunate break here with getting this guy in here. And not only did Joe get to play again, Joe got to play in big-time competitive games and an opportunity to get his team to the playoffs, and did just that. But I think he and Elijah Moore can have a special day tomorrow. And with the coverage, and this is where Amari Cooper probably won't have to win tomorrow. Certainly doesn't have to put up the 265 that he did on Christmas Eve. The attention will be there on these vertical routes, because this is one thing that the Browns have gotten right here over the last few weeks with the switch to Joe Flacco. That has always been kind of the Achilles heel of the Kevin Stefanski offense in his time. I'm a huge Kevin Stefanski guy, but they just never really could get the vertical game going on a consistent basis. And that has certainly not been the case since Joe Flacco has been the quarterback of this team. So the coverage will be focused on the deep receivers, whether it is Elijah Moore, whether it is Amari Cooper, allowing, in my opinion, for a lot of easy targets and run after catch for David Njoku and David Bell. I think the Cleveland Browns, in the last game that mattered, week 17 against the New York Jets on Thursday night, found a better way of running the ball, got a little bit back more to their comfort zone. And as they're working in this new part of their offense that they never had, that night they were able to incorporate what they had always done well during the Kevin Stefanski regime and run that football. If they can find a way to do both, and it ain't got to be off the charts. Look, the Houston Texans are a good team. They're probably here a year earlier than expected. A lot of thanks to that probably goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the Texans are going to be a team to come for years to come. They're probably going to be a team that's going to run that AFC South for a couple of years, in my opinion. Just maybe not ready just yet, in my opinion. But it's going to be a good one tomorrow. Now, if you look at the defensive side of the ball here, so this is why I think the Browns are going to succeed. That rest for Wyatt Teller, that rest for Ethan Posick, Joe Bitonio, that inner core of that offensive line. And look, when they are at their best, they are one of the best offensive interiors as far as lines are concerned in the entire NFL. So if you can get Jerome going, which then all of a sudden Jerome can be a factor in the passing game as well. And I know people get on him a little bit for drops, but when he makes big plays. So the drops I can kind of live with. You don't want him to be backbreaking, obviously. But Jerome Ford has really put together a really strong season for what was supposed to maybe be basically, Nick Chubb's caddy this year. And all of a sudden, in week 2, he was obviously forced into duty, and he's done a fantastic job to this point. Some of the stuff, that concerns me a little bit on the defensive side of the ball for the Browns is, look, obviously C.J. Stroud is back. There's no question about that. And C.J. Stroud is a special talent, special young man. Obviously, the state of Ohio reveres him. He will probably be public enemy number 1 in the state of Ohio tomorrow. And Nico Collins, and he obviously have a great thing going, great little relationship going, something nice going with Dalton Schultz. And obviously there's other players for the Texans who did not participate in this first game. And I don't think the pressure's on Houston. And, look, I know what they've been saying. And look, I haven't really heard anybody, and starting to see now that we're a day away from the game, predictions from a lot of people. The Houston Texans tried to do a nice job to make themselves David versus Goliath in this matchup. There are obviously not a lot of people in the industry who truly believe that. I don't think anybody believes that. I think the Houston Texans can give the Browns all they want tomorrow, but there should be a decided advantage for the Cleveland Browns defensively. Denzel Ward. And you all saw you don't put that type of thing out if you're going to be standing in sweatpants tomorrow. So Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, Martin Emerson. As we know, Grant Delpit will not be back. It looks like Juan Thornhill will be a go. Ronnie Hickman's been fantastic. Ogbo, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith, the young buck, Alex Wright, who's been phenomenal over the last 4 weeks. The interior, Texans can't seem to run the ball very well anymore. Texans were a team that were running the ball and defending the run. Texans all of a sudden are a team that really can't run the ball, and they can't stop other teams from running it. Huge factor in this game tomorrow, because if the Browns are able to run the ball and keep things going through the passing game that they've been able to do to this point, Texans are going to be a real tough shot, because they're just going to have to throw every play, which has Jim Schwartz going. Because I'm going to play my cover 1, I'm going to play my cover 0, and I am going to bring pressure on this young rookie quarterback all day and all night long. Jim's going to do what Jim does. And when you get into the bigger spots, you don't back away from who you are. All you do is accelerate it. We're going to get to segment 3, some final thoughts, a game score prediction. Your pregame Locked On Browns playoff style continues on. Don't go anywhere. I know we come to sports as an escape from some of the crazy realities of our lives, but can we just talk for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the 6th season. Strep throat, bronchitis. Look, this is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if Anne-Marie or one of my daughters got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from the life-saving medication that they needed. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jase Medical. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among others. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jasemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jasemedical.com and use offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. We are back. Your host, Jeff Lloyd. As you guys know, 7 seasons with y'all. And this will be the one I remember. Obviously, 2018 Baker's rookie year, 2020 special. But the storyline of this season, all the guys in, all the guys out, everybody stepping up week in, week out, find a way to go 1-0. This is the year that if people talk to me and ask me, of the 7 I've been here, this has certainly been the most special, no question about it. Special teams, obviously we know Dustin Hopkins will not be part of this. Riley Patterson was called up from the practice squad today. He will be the Browns kicker again, obviously 3rd game in a row for Riley Patterson. Has success in big games, does have some success as a playoff kicker. So, Riley Patterson, look, we'd all wish it was Dustin Hopkins, but hey, next man up, right? It's been another one that's been pretty big this year. As we know, Browns did have an issue. Obviously, a kickoff return for a touchdown in the first meeting against Houston. These things certainly need to be tightened up tomorrow. You cannot have any flaws in your special teams in a game of this magnitude. Baraquez indoors, it's going to be missiles all over that place, even though I hope he never gets to punt once. Wink, wink. We'll see who is your kickoff returner tomorrow. My guess is it might be Prochet. John Kelly was brought off from the practice squad. Anybody who listened yesterday, the everydayers I mentioned, could be a chance that John Kelly's brought off from the practice squad in case Pierre Strong can't go. So that is certainly something to monitor, and we'll have that final news by about 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. Now, again, the turnovers, and Joe, this is where it's going to get a little bit tighter, as we are here now into the playoffs and the magnitude of these games. There were some throws that Joe would have loved to have back. He's got to be smart about that. Throwing a chili pepper into the ground, throwing the ball to his wife or one of his 5 children in the crowd, instead of maybe throwing one that he shouldn't have. Might be the way to go for Joe tomorrow. Get a nice combination of Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt. I would say if the Browns, ideally for this to work well for the Cleveland Browns tomorrow, means they get about 20 carries between Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford. That means they're in control of the game. They're in control of the time. And it means CJ Stroud is watching as much of the game, hopefully, as me, you, and everybody listening to this podcast. Another big, big factor. I honestly think the defensive line in the pass rush is going to go absolutely ham tomorrow. I really do. Myles Garrett is starting to pick up the accolades, AP, first team All-Pro, starting to, getting a lot more recognition, that potentially becoming the defensive player of the year for 2023, which I think there's no question about. It's about impact. It's about what you've done when you did it, when your big moments happened. And for Myles Garrett, there were plenty of those this season that led this team here. He's kind of got the band back together. Agbo Okoronkwo, Zadarius Smith, Alex Wright. These guys have had a lot of impact over the last couple of weeks, filling in the slack for Agbo. Dalvin Tomlinson, this is the reason you spent this money. And this is one of the things I talked about in the offseason, the beginning of the season, beginning of camp. You paid Juan Thornhill. You paid Agbo. You paid, of course, Dalvin Tomlinson. You brought in Zadarius Smith. You wanted guys who had been in the postseason. You wanted guys who knew what the expectation was for this team. You didn't want guys who came here back in the day like the Browns used to do, is we'll give you more money than anybody else. And yeah, you may have been a good player, star player on a fledgling team. We're now overpaying you. You're not doing well. It doesn't work out. The Browns were able to go out. Shelby Harris, another one. Rodney McLeod, when they brought him in, another one. The Browns were able to just continue to go out and bring in guys. And it all of a sudden became the guys wanted to come here. They wanted to play for Cleveland. They wanted to be a Brown. That never happened. Ever. Ever. And that has been a huge defining moment for this season, for this organization, for this regime, which will lead to extensions for Andrew Berry, an extension for Kevin Stefanski, because twice in 4 years this team is going to the playoffs. And I'm not going to spill the beans just yet, but for the 2 times they went to the playoffs, this team is going to get a victory in the playoffs. So now, I guess y'all want my prediction for how it's going to look tomorrow, how it's going to play out tomorrow in Houston, Texas. I think you're going to see Joe Flacco put together an effort of over 250 yards. I think the Cleveland Browns are going to find a way to run the ball for more than 100 yards, 4 yards per pop. I think you're going to get minimum 3 sacks out of your defense. I think you're going to get an interception, if not 2, out of your secondary. I'm not saying CJ Stroud won't hit a play or 2, but it's going to be a long day for CJ Stroud, and one that he will remember as CJ Stroud comes back to terrorize the NFL for the next couple of years. But tomorrow ain't your day, young man. Tomorrow is all about the Cleveland Browns, who are going to beat the Houston Texans 30-16 and move and advance in the 2023 NFL playoffs. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. I appreciate each and every one of you that make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. And if you are not part of the everyday crowd by now, subscribe to the dang YouTube channel for Locked On Browns, and you are in, and we're going to party all over again next week. I will be here tomorrow night with whatever voice I have left. If I have to hold up words and just do this to get it a point, we're going to talk about it, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it. Don't you worry about that. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.